Hello, my lovely, and welcome back to another episode of Lotus Life the Podcast. My name is Rose Tautari, and I am, among many things in this lifetime, a human design guide, a soul mentor, an author, and a podcaster. And this is a show where each week we get to hang out and chat about all things human design. I'm here to teach you how you can thrive in your most aligned life by empowering yourself to understand your unique soul's purpose. Human design is a beautiful synthesis bringing together ancient wisdom and modern science, and is a way of really understanding the contract between your soul and the universe for who you came here to be, what you came here to do, and what karma you came to correct and create this lifetime round. So this podcast, Lotus Life, is a celebration of embodying the lotus flower that blooms and thrives, growing from even the murkiest of conditions in life. So get ready to lotus your life. Now, living in alignment. You might know what that feels like or what that looks like for you, or you might have a vision or a reality that you're currently manifesting for how alignment looks in your life uniquely for you. But how do you know how to trust that you're always making decisions or taking steps in life that will keep you following your true alignment, to keep you moving towards your true north in this lifetime as such? So this is where human design becomes an incredible tool to empower yourself with, right? It's something that you can experiment with using in your daily life and with helping you to understand your true self. And it really comes down to understanding what is known in human design as your authority. And you can think of your authority as also being known as your inner knowing or your soul's compass, or even you could call it your own unique decision-making tool. So in this episode, I'm going to cover a little on the different authority types that there are and how you can go about using your own individual authority to help with knowing what your unique version of alignment looks like and feels like for you. So each and every one of us has a way of making decisions and a decision-making process that is really just unique to us in the way that is the bigger picture of how that's created. But it isn't in our mind, which is typically what in our sort of human existence, we think that our mind knows best, and we're kind of convinced that our mind knows the right way to work things out, to think it over, to go and think about something logically, to make a logical decision. It's all the ways in which our conditioning and society, what others' opinions and environment has told us about how we're supposed to approach life, right? It's the logical mind, it's the decision making, it's the masculine energy is typically what we've been shown and sort of taught and given, I guess, examples of what we're supposed to be or should, in inverted commas, be using in order to make our decisions. So a few episodes back, you might have listened in when I was talking about manifesting and the power of manifestation and how your human design can help you to know what your true energetics are when it comes to what your soul desires. And it's that energetics that I'm going to touch on again today. How can you know when your soul is in true flow, how you can see when you're in alignment, how you can know at sort of that unshakable energetic level within yourself about making decisions that are always going to lead to your unique version of alignment, and how you can keep living in alignment with what is your unique truth, your unique magic and what your soul came here for in this lifetime, rather than listening to the shoulds of what your life should look, feel, touch, taste, smell like, for example. So think about how when you are in that energetic alignment that we talked about with manifesting, you're operating from that place of your highest vibration, right? Your highest self. You're magnetic to the world around you, quite literally on a cellular level, because your vibrations like attracting like. And essentially that's when our core vibration or our alignment allows our true self to just shine. It's that golden spot where everything just seems to naturally and effortlessly fall into place. And as part of the human experience of being here, we all know that feeling when we've operated from a place that isn't in alignment for our soul, right? We all know that moment when we've said yes to something that we know should have been a big fat no, when we've pushed and shoved and, just ground and hustled the hardest in order to get, well, often it's nowhere really, isn't it? When we've come from that hustle culture mentality, or when we've approached life with that super controlling, tight grip on everything. And I can tell you that in all the times in my life when that's been my approach or that's been my energy, it's been the most miserable, it's been the most awful, it's been the most soul-destroying times in my life. So alternatively, that moment of being in alignment, of being in flow, that place of flow and ease and grace, and being able to just come at things from that peaceful center in life, well, that's just something that I'm so passionate about helping other people uncover. And that's all part of this process of helping others to understand their own unique human design. So coming back to talking about authority, so you can think of your authority in your human design as your unique way of making decisions that is individually correct for your soul, your aura, your energy type. And it's like having a voice that just is always on your team, that's always going to help you. It's incredibly nuanced, and for each person's soul, it's going to look and feel and act differently. It's going to be a different experience for everyone, even if you have the same authority listed within your human design. So everyone has only one authority or decision-making tool that's kind of in their cosmic pocket, so to speak. And it's really, you could think about it as, even though there might be several different voices going on, it's the one that has the last say, so to speak. Now, within your human design, in the body graph, where you see all the different shapes that are either colored in or white, so each of those chakras or centers within your human design does have its own voice. So this is where the many voices can sort of come from, and they all essentially contribute to the final picture, come together to make that final puzzle of your individual decision-making process. They all do have sort of a say along the way, but our one true authority comes from that place in us that is essentially where we cultivate our awareness. It's our drive, it's our motivation, and it's our real ability for our soul to cultivate and use your own unique wisdom. So where you find the information about what your authority is in your human design chart, if you're using the mybodygraph.com site to get your free chart, which I've linked up with the episode in the show notes, you'll find it on the place that under not the talking body graph section, but the one in the that's I think called My Body Graph, and it's under the information panel. You'll see that it's listed all the different features of your human design, such as your energy type, and then there'll be the one there that says authority. Now, the different authorities that can be listed, you will only have one for your individual human design, and that's the one that stays with you throughout this lifetime. So it doesn't change. But just to cover off what the different authority types are, because this can be really helpful, that say for yourself, knowing what your own authority is, but then if you've gone in and looked at the chart of, say, your partner or your kids or your family, your friends, this will really help you to also understand what their authority is as well. So the different authority types that exist come from the solar plexus, which is known as emotional authority. There's also the sacral chakra, known as sacral authority, the spleen, known as splenic authority, the heart, and that's known as ego authority within human design. Now you've got the G center, which can be an authority as well, and this is known as self-projected authority. And then you've got environmental authority, which is only for mental projectors like myself, which can also be known as sort of a few different variations. There's not many of us, so that's why there's sort of a few different words to describe it. It can be mental authority, sounding board authority. And then there's also finally the Lunar or Moon Authority, or what's also called No Inner Authority. And this is only for reflectors. You're the magical unicorn 1% who have that authority type, and that only exists for reflectors. Now, let's go to emotional authority. Essentially, if you have in your human design chart listed that your authority is emotional, basically your main thing to remember is that you need to wait until you are cool, calm, and collected to make decisions in your life. Now, this is the authority of 50% of the people on the planet. So you all are here to learn that wisdom comes from learning to wait out your emotional wave. Think of you and your soul as constantly having a chemical wave going on that is all to do with your emotions. It's always happening and it's always going on, and it's always going from the high to the low and then back up again. So the wisdom here comes from learning to be able to observe your own emotions first, rather than jumping in to make a rash decision or jumping to conclusions, for example. You know, you're the kind of person who presses send on that text, really, bangs it out and then presses send, all caught up in the heat of the moment, and then spend ages going, oh fuck, why did I just say that? Full of regret. I didn't actually mean that. I'm just swept up in my own emotions and I know it's my own shit, right? Or maybe you wake up the next day and go, oh my God, that was the wrong thing to do. Or equally, emotional authority can kind of show up as being the type of person who gets really blindsided by emotion and that emotional wave and just cannot for the life of you work out maybe, for example, why you're suddenly just like bawling your eyes out about something, but it's completely disproportionate to the actual thing that happened. That how upset you are is completely out of proportion to what it was that triggered you to suddenly start crying, right? So that's kind of like a couple of examples of emotional authority. Learning to wait until you're cool, calm, collected is the big thing. There are actually 4 different types of emotional waves go on. And of course, everyone has got their own individual variation of how this looks in their life and how they experience it, how they feel it. But the 4 different types that exist are the subtle wave, the build-up wave, the spontaneous highs and lows or mountains and troughs, and then the escalator wave. So the trick with emotional authority is really learning how to observe what that unique wave looks like for you. No two people's wave will look or feel the same. And it's to always allow yourself to make decisions from that cool, calm, collected place. So always know how to buy yourself some time. You don't want to be making rash or split-second decisions, but if you're excited by something, for example, learning how to use your own power, take back that power and say, if someone comes to you with something and you're really excited by it, but learning how to say, hey, that sounds amazing. Can I sleep on it? Or, hey, that sounds so awesome, right up my alley, but can I get back to you a bit closer to the time? So you want to have some words like that tucked away that you can just pull out at any moment, so that you can kind of give yourself that just permission to not get caught off guard, right? So you don't end up saying yes or no, caught off guard while you're in that process of going through your wave, because it works for both the yeses and the nos. It's whether you're in the high of your wave or the low of your wave. Equally, you're not going to make decisions from the cool, calm, collected place. So 4 of the energy types can all have emotional authority, which is your generators, manifesting generators, manifestors, and projectors. They can all have emotional authority. So that's why there are so many people that have got emotional authority out there. So if you feel like it's confusing, you feel like it's a challenge, just know you're not the only person. It's kind of one of your soul's lessons to learn. And the gift of it is that you get to experience like the roller coaster or the full spectrum of emotion just by waking up in the morning, sitting on your couch. You don't have to go out there and have something happen to you to know how that feels. So that's the gift, is you then are able to go, hey, I can empathize with you. I know how you're feeling. I can resonate with what you're going through at the moment, because I myself feel so deeply and beautifully every day. Now, the next authority type I'm going to cover is Sacral Authority. So this comes from the sacral chakra, the sacral center within your human design. And this is the powerhouse of giving you a clear-cut decision, and it's instant and it's in the now. Now, really the challenge here is that people with sacral authority end up trying to kind of over-intellectualize the process of making decisions, right? It gets stuck in the head. You try and use logic, you try and use your mind, but trust that everything, all the decisions, big or small, it's like following breadcrumbs all day long, from even the smallest of decisions through to the biggest of life purpose, meaning decisions, is all tied to and based on your excitement level, right? The excitement that comes from that sacral chakra. So if you feel excitement or feel excited about something, trust that, allow it, go with it. And if you don't feel excited, then that's a no for you and don't do it. But sometimes following that simple process, right, it can feel like the hardest thing to do. So I can totally sympathize that if you are someone who has got sacral authority and you're struggling a little bit with either too many years of saying yes to things that should have been no's, or people pleasing, or not having good boundaries, right? It's tough. And it takes a lot of work, that inner work. And this authority only belongs to generators or manifesting generators, because all of the other types don't have their sacral chakra defined. So gens and many gens, you guys are the only ones with sacral authority. So just as a little extra note with this, just remember that your sacral can't predict the future. So if you're being asked to commit to something, whatever that might be in the future, learn to have some phrases, a little bit like with the emotional authority people, learn to have some phrases in your toolkit that you can pull out that let you circle back round to the decision, so that you can actually make that decision when it is actually in the moment. You can feel that excitement or lack of excitement in the moment and make a decision that's in alignment for your soul. Now, Splenic Authority, my lovely Splenic Authority, intuitive souls. So your spleen gives you, if you have Splenic Authority, this is an instant voice that speaks to you in the moment, but it essentially will tell you and guide you in the right alignment for your soul to kind of do something or not do something, go here or don't do that. But it comes from a real, I have no idea why. You know, it's kind of not logical. It's so not logical, right? It's intuitive. It comes from your senses. It's a sixth sense that you've got. It's an awareness that you've got about something that you just can't explain. You have no idea why, but this is just your reaction, and this is your decision about it. So the trick with having Splenic Authority is that it only speaks once. It won't repeat itself. So it literally gets to call the shots, but it could be that it's just a little whisper, or it could be that it's a big, sensation that you feel. And when you're first learning to listen in and to use your Splenic Authority, you probably can't always make sense of what it's telling you, or why it's telling you, or how it's telling you. So it's one that you really have to start learning to use this inner voice. And one of the things you can do as a sort of, if you haven't already been listening to it or leaning into it, and to help yourself with it, is to kind of train yourself to be able to catch the intuition when it comes, right? Catch the hit when it comes through you. And so whether you get into a habit of writing those hits down on your phone, or just jotting them in your diary if you've got it with you in your bag all the time, think about it like it's an experiment on yourself of learning and self-discovery. And it's self-discovery of what that sixth sense, that intuition, that awareness looks like for you. So it might look or sound, it might be taste, it might be feel, it might be smells. all of those sorts of things to become kind of like just open to noticing what those look like for you. And then by training yourself to catch them and note them down, you can then look back and see, okay, so every time I get that sensation going through my body, that was when that was either right or wrong for me. And I now know that by looking back. So next time it speaks up, I know I can use that voice, right? Now, ego authority people. So this only occurs for projectors or manifestors. And really the ego authority that comes from the heart center within your human design, which is next to the G center in the chest, the big large diamond shape, there's that small triangle that will be colored in red if you've got this. Now this is your ego authority if you are an ego authority person. So basically when this little guy is able to speak up, it's because you don't have your solar plexus defined, so you don't have emotional authority, you don't have emotions clouding the issue, you don't have a gut voice coming from your sacral because your sacral is white, it's undefined. Your splenic center will be white as well, so you don't have that intuitive or intuition, sixth sense. Like none of those other centers are kind of clouding your judgment. So this is where the ego is able to really speak loud and clearly all the time for you. So really what ego authority comes down to is kind of all about energetics of, do I selfishly want this thing or not? What is my motivation coming from my heart center, coming from my ego? Even if you can't explain why that is motivating you, it's kind of just learning to go with it, to lean into it. So for example, you might absolutely love your life. You might feel super excited every day by what you get up and do. And it might be really like you feel like you're embodying your highest self, you're in alignment, you're in flow. But what you're physically doing is maybe something that could be very mundane, right? It could be cleaning, it could be gardening, or something that you just go, I don't really know logically why this is so fulfilling for me. But what it is that your ego motivation, your desire, the bigger purpose that work symbolizes for you is that, say for example, what it is that you're gardening, but it's your own company that you've started. And maybe your end goal is to grow that company into being a big conglomerate or something. Or it's the drive that you're going, hey, I'm my own boss and I really don't care what I'm doing. But the fact that I've got the freedom to be my own boss is what really lights me up and is in my alignment. Now, G center authority. This is only going to occur for projectors. And again, this is an authority that comes about only when there's nothing else that's kind of clouding the picture or the direction. So this is again someone who's got no emotion, no gut sacral voice, no intuition voices, and the ego isn't present. So the ego center is white, the heart center is white. So none of those voices are speaking up. It's the big yellow diamond in the center of your chest for a projector, and this is the G center authority. So the way this works, this is what would be called self-projected authority. And really what it comes, the clarity or alignment comes when you share your thoughts with others. So think about it like your sense of direction, your alignment comes from your G center. It's your highest self. It's your center of who you are. So it really comes, that strong sense of direction for what is in alignment for you, and your soul is really always going to come from within you. So you're the person who is always bouncing ideas off others. You're always talking it out. You're always speaking it out. You're always brainstorming with other people. But what that gives you is that you are the person who needs to be able to listen to what you are saying to other people about that decision or that opportunity without thinking about it. So this is, again, it's dropping out of the logical mind. It's coming down into your G center, coming from that version of your higher self, and it's what the self wants. So it's very in the moment and hearing yourself, to know how you truly feel about that decision or that opportunity, for example, is the key to how this authority works. So think about this as a tip for if you are someone who has got self-projected authority, that you might think you know what you want up in your brain, like when you're just on your own. But as a projector, because remember, this is only for projectors will have this type, you can't see yourself very clearly like other people do. So the best thing you can do, say if you've got a business partner or you've got somebody that you work with closely, go for a walk, for example, with them and just talk it out. Hear yourself talking about it, because by the time you come back from that walk, you might go, oh, actually, I do really want that thing, or I don't actually want what I thought I wanted, because the logical mind will be kind of trying to shout out over the top of this. So use some of those kind of techniques of bouncing your idea off others, speaking it out, talking it out, talk, and you will get to hear what it is that you truly feel about that decision or opportunity, and then know what is going to be in alignment for your soul. Now, people with sounding board authority, environmental authority, this only occurs, this is like getting down into the niches here, these last two types of authority. So environment or sounding board authority or mental authority only occurs for mental projectors, which, hello, me, this is my category. So mental projectors are the projector type who only have nothing defined below the throat within our chart. So most of our chart looks like a reflector. It's all white, but we can have any combination of the throat, the ajna, and the crown. So for example, in my chart, I have my ajna and throat defined. Darren, my partner, has his ajna and crown head center defined, or you can have all three. So how this authority type works is that it's all to do with your point of view. It's all to do with your thoughts, your opinions, your judgments. And it's like you take what you observe around you in your environment, you take that process of observing the outside world, and then you kind of like collate everything. And if anything, it's like your decisions do still come from based on logic, but it also comes from inner knowing, which the specifics within your chart as to your lines and your gates and your profile and other things are going to all come into play and define how that looks for you. But you're essentially, as a mental projector, going to be, out of all of the humans on this planet, you are naturally built more towards making what we would consider traditionally like the most rational decisions out of anyone that are coming from like the logical mind. And so if anything, a mental projector probably is the type who everyone else is trying to act like, but they don't have this authority, so it's not energetically correct for them, right? So it is tough with this being your authority, and it was something that I've talked about in other podcast episodes of how freeing it was to finally understand that when everybody else around me used to talk about following their gut or following their intuition or just, I know I'm so excited about this, so I know it's right for me, I would always go like, what the fuck? I literally don't know. I literally don't know, because I have nothing inside me that is telling me what is right for me. So with this authority as a sounding board or environment, really what you need is to have the correct environment around you. That's so important. It needs to be healthy. It needs to be beneficial for you. It needs to feel good for your soul. Plus, you need to have kind of trusted people who, a little bit like with the self-projected authority, who you can hear your own voice out loud while talking to them about things. So it's like using the other person as a sounding board for you to be able to make a decision. So you're not asking for their opinion or their advice. You're literally just kind of bouncing your voice off them so you can hear yourself as to whether something is aligned for you and whether that is the correct decision for you. So it's certainly one that I know myself from personal experience, that learning that about myself has been such a fucking huge sigh of relief and big permission slip from the universe, that I now know how I can make the right decisions. I can go and use someone, the trusted people in my life, as sounding boards to go, I just need to hear myself talking about this in order to know whether it's right for me. Now, lastly, the beautiful, beautiful Lunar Authority, Moon Authority, or what's also known as No Inner Authority, is only for the reflectors in the world, the beautiful 1%, the unicorns. And for reflectors, learning how to use this authority is really all about allowing the world to give you your answer as to big decisions, the right alignment for you over the course of the moon cycle, over the 28 days of the lunar cycle. So it's confusing. Yes, it is probably something that if you didn't know you were a reflector, hearing it, you're going, what the fuck is this about? And of course, because it doesn't relate to the way our world is structured, it doesn't relate to the go, go, go of the instant gratification world. But the thing to remember about this authority is that it's not always having to wait a full 28 days from the point in time when, say, something comes to you, an opportunity, something that you want to make a decision about. Think about it like at whatever point in the lunar cycle you're in, it's waiting out the flow of the remaining month, right? The remaining 28 days until the close of that cycle you're within. So, for example, the point that you're in, that could mean that you need to wait, say, the remaining 22 days, or it could only be like 3 or 4 days until the end of the cycle. And also just learning that the more you kind of get to know this about yourself and know your own true cycle within that, is that the decision or the aligned action, that might come to you straight away. It might come to you tomorrow, for example, but just giving it that full time gives it the ability to reach its maximum potential. It reveals the whole picture to you over waiting out that 28-day cycle. So it's also remembering that for the small things, the real like inconsequential shit, like you can go with the flow. Like you don't have to use it for the small stuff. It's more related to the big things, the big decisions, things to do with like your life purpose, for example. But like, I want to go grab a coffee with my friend. You just decide. Like it's very much more, you can just feel whether that feels good for you. So I hope that was helpful. As always, I like to say that you can think of human design as your permission slip from the universe to show up every day, just being your true self, right? It allows you to understand who you came here to be in this lifetime and who your soul chose to come here to embody this lifetime round. So thank you so much, as always, for being here, for listening in. And if you are listening, tag me in screenshots of listening to this episode. And if you've got any questions, as always, I love to hear from you. Come and let me know. I love chatting about all things to do with human design. And while we're talking about fun things and geeking out and talking about all things to do with human design, have you joined the Facebook group if you are loving human design and loving learning more? It's a space where it's kind of like a book club, but maybe you could call it a human design hub. So if you're loving it, loving learning about human design and wanting to know more about your design, come and hang out in there. The link to join will be in the show notes with this episode, or you can jump onto Facebook and look it up. The group is called Lotus Life Human Design with Rose Tautari. So as always, thank you so much for being here. Virtual hugs through the microphone, and I will catch you on the next episode.